I was watching the old Trump newser there. How can anybody listen to this guy? He's a blithering idiot. I've said that before. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of clips here. They're kind of funny. CNN made this big deal about him saying Ukraine started the war.
Years, you should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down.
He kind of said that, yes. But a little while later, he said Putin started the war.
Talk of this during the Trump administration. Putin would have never, ever done it.
Which one is it? Don't make any difference. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just standing up there blithering around. Next thing he does, he goes into, well, the Europeans weren't paying for the war, or weren't putting their money in. We were putting all the money in. By the way, guys, there is no money.
And, you know, the other thing that it's been bothering me for a long time, because I solved the problem with NATO. They paid hundreds of billions of dollars into the funds of NATO when I said you got to pay, because the United States was paying for European countries, and then they take advantage of us on trade.
NATO has wanted all their members to put 2% into defense. Now, when the Soviet Union went down, they all kind of dropped out of that, didn't really want to do that anymore. And a lot of them still don't have 2%. And, okay, what that is spend 2% of your GDP, gross domestic product, on defense. They don't put any money into NATO. They're not putting into a fund or something like that. They're spending it on military equipment. Okay, he keeps saying, they're not paying. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Not going to go over all these things. There's various reasons for whatever they do. I think they should be paying the 2%, and they probably will here pretty soon, because we're going to back out of all this stuff. Now Trump is saying they should be paying 5%. Now, when he does these kind of things, he just brings these numbers out of the air. He has no idea what they mean. We are the biggest military in the world. We spend the most on military hardware and personnel. We spend about 3.4% of our GDP. So, you're supposed to pay more. None of this makes any sense at all. This is just kind of his, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy's supposed to be a smart guy. He's supposed to have access to all the right numbers on everything, and he has no idea what the numbers are. He's talking in this thing about, let's say we spend $300 billion.
But I've seen it. Look, they have to pay. They have to find out, where's the money going to. We have, I believe, President Zelensky said last week that he doesn't know where half of the money is that we gave him. Well, we gave them, I believe, $350 billion, but let's say it's something less than that, but it's a lot. And we have to equalize with Europe, because Europe has given a very much smaller percentage than that. I think Europe has given 100 billion, and we've given, let's say, 300 plus. And it's more important for them than it is for us. We have an ocean in between, and they don't. But where is all the money that's been given? Where is it going? And I've never seen an accounting of it. We give hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't see any accounting. So,
what do you mean, let's say we said 300 billion? You have the numbers. You have people to do this. This is what they do. But you don't know what they are. maybe you just forgot. Uh, the He said, well, we spend, say, $300 billion and they spend, say, $100 billion. Why don't you put real numbers in? Now, I can give you real numbers, and some of them vary because there's all sorts of different things that this money goes for. It doesn't go for weapons. Some of it does, some of it doesn't, but there's humanitarian things and all sorts of stuff like that. The European Union and the United States are about equal in what they put in money to Ukraine. Some of it's military, some of it's humanitarian. And then he comes up and starts talking about Zelensky can't account for everything. Okay, number one, I'm not going to try to account for a busted tank. In World War II, we did not account for a busted tank or a sunk ship. None of that stuff was done. We put it in there. If it did what we needed it to do, great. If it was destroyed, great. Well, not great, but in war you don't have an accountant for that. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. So he has this thing, well, they haven't spent, they don't know where the money went. What Zelensky was actually saying that he's referring to is Zelensky didn't see military hardware at 1.75 billion. Because around the 0.75 or so was spent on humanitarian stuff. And it did not go to weapons. That's really all it is. This guy should, I know he's not ever going to do it, but he sits there with numbers that don't make any sense. $50 million for condoms to Gaza. Turns out Gaza's in Mozambique. And it's not condoms. None of this stuff is real. It's all just a bunch of fake stuff. If it sounds good, he does it. If it sounds good, he does it. And you suckers that elected this guy, you put us in a real bind. I'll have more on this stuff. It's coming up pretty quick. So anyway, that's it on this one.